Hello, thanks for coming back and seeing us. If you're new here, my name's Rob. Our channel is Cooking the Hawk's Way. I started out as a journey. I was on keto, doing keto and trying to just live a little healthier. And we adapted it into, it's kind of what Tamla and I both do. She recently had her gallbladder out, and so we are going down a pathway of low fat, high fiber, low salt, trying to accommodate both of our health concerns and just make good food. I follow a lot of folks and live by that thing that if you're going to cook it and eat it, why not make good food? Make it tasty and something that's really nice.
That he does. His food is very tasty.
So over the years, I have baked a lot of bread, and I've used a couple of recipes and had marginal success when it came to making dinner rolls or hamburger rolls. And recently, I discovered a 7-ingredient recipe that's strictly for making soft dinner rolls, but today we're going to make hamburger rolls. Now, we're not going to film the entire process because from start to finish, this is a 3-hour and 45-minute ordeal. You let the dough rise and proof 3 different times. So we're going to start from the beginning and go through the first process, and then we may skip all of the rest of it because it's just a lot of kneading and you know, we use our KitchenAid mixer with the bread hook, and I get that dough ready for that first proofing, and then we put it and let it sit for an hour. You take it out, punch it down, divide it, put it in 2 different containers, oil it up, let it proof again. Then you form them into your rolls and put it in the container that you're going to actually bake in, and then they proof a 3rd time. And we're not going to film all that because that's just a lot of sitting and waiting. But what I will show you is
Don't let that scare you, though. Please try this recipe because, oh my gosh, these are amazing rolls.
I'm going to set this over and you can film down in it. But the very first part of this, you take, and I've doubled the recipe, so everything I've done is double. But you take a cup of milk, you take 1 package of yeast and 2 tablespoons of your sugar, and you don't put the yeast in at first. You heat the milk to 110 degrees. And we've got a digital thermometer. I made sure that's that optimal area that when you put the yeast in, the sugar goes in for the yeast to eat on. That this is double. So this is 2 cups, 2 packages of yeast, and 4 tablespoons of sugar. And you basically heat that for 5
Oh, look at that.
Look at how foamy and frothy. It's going to make some really good dough.
And it smells good, too.
Yes.
I love the smell of yeast.
And so what I'm going to do, I'm going to divide this back out. I'm going to take half of it, and I'll run it through in 2 batches. But essentially, this is your...
Why not do it all at once?
This is your start because the container's not big enough. The bread hook doesn't... It won't take a double recipe.
Okay.
If we had a big Hobart commercial mixer, I'd jump all over it, but we're just not there. So, I will divide this out. And these are Pampered Chef. They're called Easy Read measuring cups because they got that front on an angle. Whether you're standing on that side looking in or you're on this side looking down, you can easily see your measurement. Whoa, and right there. Oh, look at that. And it wouldn't be me if I wasn't making a mess. I got it all over the counter.
And did you get the yeast part? The foamy part? Okay.
Yeah. Yes, I did. I will mix it up again. I mean, yes, the yeast is all through it. Smells like beer. Got so much yeast. That literally
So
smells
yeast
like
in it.
beer that's cooking. Yes. So, this recipe actually takes, in this case, because it's double, it'll be 6 cups of flour. For each single batch, it's 3 cups of flour mixed in with your yeast and milk. So, And the good thing about a KitchenAid stand mixer, you've got a lock. So when you get that running, you start it going, it's not going to pop up. Some of the other recipes or some of the other mixers that are on the market don't have that lock, and as you start going, the top's trying to jump up. So we've got our yeast in there.
I used to have a mixer. I used to chase it all over the counter because it would do that. Yep.
All right. Love our walk-in pantry. Absolutely love it. So, how much snow did y'all get yesterday? We had what looked like blizzard type conditions for Oklahoma, and ended up that it barely got any on the ground. It was kind of funny, actually.
It was blowing
really
straight across from
north to south.
North to south. The dogs didn't care for it much either. Poor little Maxie, he goes out there and gets blown away.
If any of you were ever wondering, because of having multiple email accounts and whatever, the name that is associated on my YouTube is actually Maxie, that we created in a Gmail email, and it's my photo, but it says Maxie, and with all the work emails and everything I've got, I just left it that way. I didn't want anyone to ever get confused thinking that, not sure where that name came from.
So yeah, it's Maxie cooking.
If you're not making a mess, you're not cooking. I give up trying to be.
Yeah, but you always clean it up, so that's okay.
I do. Okay, so this is what I usually do. I always start with my first 2 cups of flour. I put it in, and I, on low, just let it start mixing together. You're going to add, and I have found from trial and error that I don't follow the recipe exactly, because the first batch we made, remember, it wasn't salty enough. It was just really bland. It calls for 1 teaspoon of salt. When I made the last couple of batches, I've actually put in 2. So that's what I'm going to do there. It also calls for a 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, which I never buy unsalted butter. I always use salted. And it calls for 1 egg. And I will put my 3rd cup of flour in there after I add the butter and the 1 egg.
And yes, I've had to limit myself on his rolls. I can't eat as many as I would like to. They're so good, but I'm really trying hard to be good.
The reason that I went to this recipe is because I was using just regular yeast bread recipe before. They would always come out heavy. And now this recipe comes out extremely light and airy. You can see that the yeast has just worked its magic inside the dough, and is just wonderful. Now, as it's right there right now, it's got kind of a ball. It hasn't cleaned all the sides yet. When I put the 3rd cup of flour in there, I take my whisk while the bread knife is working, and I clean down the sides of the bowl, but I put all my other ingredients in there and let it work together. And I'm going to, because I got this straight out of the refrigerator and it's hard, I'm going to microwave it to a certain degree, but I'm also, before I do that, I'm going to shred it so that it's not just some big lump of butter. I'll let it mix all the way through. And for a 1/4 cup, it's basically 4 tablespoons, and that's what I've got here. So I'm just going to shred it into the bowl and microwave, but I'm going to use the same bowl first to make sure, number 1, that I don't have any shell in with my egg, and then I'm going to dump the egg right down in there. what I have found with this recipe, with the milk, for whatever reason, it makes it so light and airy on these.
And what kind of milk do you use?
Whole milk. I'm lactose intolerant for the most part, and so I have lactose-free milk. Used that on one recipe making these. You can't do it. You've got to have the whole milk. It's from the milk cultures, obviously, that allows this recipe to work the way you want it. And so, let me move my flour. I don't want to be blocking the shot. But essentially, I just like to do this because then it's all incorporated down in. It will mix through your flour, and I think it's part of what gives you your airiness in your dough. And you want it thoroughly mixed through so that
they say to do this too when you make your pie crust, and it has, you know, little butter flavors.
Butter flavors.
Butter.
It's kind of like with biscuit dough.
Butter pieces.
Your homemade biscuits that you make, you want butter throughout, and I find doing this with the butter just makes a really good recipe. And when I get done with this, I'm going to put it in the microwave for just a couple of seconds. It'll soften it a little further so that it'll incorporate into that dough really well. And I'm trying not to put any finger skin down in our bread dough.
Will it not mix in good if you just leave it like that?
Well, not entirely, because it's so cold.
Okay.
I usually microwave it for less than 10 seconds, but it just softens it enough that it provides some lubricant, so to speak, into your dough. I was sharing with Tamla's mom and aunt last weekend when they came to visit that we had a cousin that they never bought a loaf of bread in the store ever, that they would bake anywhere from 17 to 20 loaves of bread every weekend. And I don't know if any of their family ever tasted what store-bought bread tastes like. It was always homemade, and I'm sure you could smell their house from miles away.
I don't think there's anything better than homemade bread.
So, question. What do you call the heel? Do you call it the crust? Do you call it the heel? Do you fight over it? It was always a point of contention in our house.
We always call it the heel, and it's my least favorite part of the bread. I don't eat it.
I love it. Yeah, Tamla would just as soon throw it away. It's like
yep.
It's quite sought after. Now see how there's just a little bit of that had turned to liquid, not all of it. It just adds you some extra lubricant in here for your dough. And what did we forget so far? There's only one other thing I got to put in.
Give me a second.
Salt.
Salt.
And I'm also, the rest of the sugar you put in the dough. It needs a little sugar as well. It's not going to be sweet by any means. Don't freak out because it's only a tablespoon. And shoot, I put the tablespoon actually in the dishwater. So
we have plenty. There's another one over there.
I'll get it.
After being a Pampered Chef consultant for a couple of years, we're not short on supplies, kitchen supplies, that's for sure. We see that. This is another one. This is another one of my favorites. I love this one. A lot of people don't like it because they say, you know, the stuff would leak under there. But these don't. I've never had a problem with it. And you can see the measurements on it. There you go. And you just click it to what you want. If you want 1 tablespoon, there you go. And I love it because you've got several just in one little tool here. It goes down to a teaspoon. So if there's anything you want, just let us know. We can sure fix you up. Like I'm having a party start next week. So yeah, just hit me up and we'll get you fixed up.
Alright. Our canisters aren't real big, so most of the time, instead of emptying the canisters for stuff like this, I actually cook out of the bags that I keep back in the pantry.
And you see, we use what's on sale.
I don't.
We don't buy name brand.
Well,
Most of the time, we don't buy name brand.
yeah, there's a few occasions that I do.
Now we're back to the last cup.
Yes, last cup of flour. There used to be where they, a lot of the old-timey recipes called for sifting the flour because you got a lot of impurities in your flour. There were actually pieces of wheat hull and all the different things. You seldom find that anymore, and we don't even own a sifter. We own one of the sifter funnels, so to speak, and I'll use that if there's something that needs to be sifted, but usually I don't bother sifting anything. Now, if it ends up that for whatever reason one measurement or another is off and the flour is not working into a ball like it needs to, seems like it's maybe just a smidge too wet, then I turn around and 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon at a time, I'll add flour in until it tightens up the way it's supposed to. But as you can see...
And how do you know that?
You just watch your dough. If it pulls away from the side of the bowl as it currently is,
Okay.
your dough is pretty much right where it's supposed to be. That's usually a sign of it being done. Now,
How long do you mix it for?
Well, that's what I was going to say. On this mix, it says to knead it or to let it sit in your mixer on no more than medium for 3 minutes. And since it's pulled clear away into a ball and you can see the gluten.
Oh, wow, look at that. Just
you can
falls
see
off.
the gluten pulling, you know that your dough is right where it needs to be. And so this is the point where I'll get it out and I'll hand knead it multiple times, folding it over itself and moving it around just so you get that...
you want to get flour out and show them?
Yeah, the strands of gluten to form your really lively, stretchy dough. I'm going to move that over there by you. I want to make sure I don't have any liquid down there.
This is the only part I don't really like. I don't like the knead. He loves it. He loves baking and cooking and trying new things. If there's anything you want to see him cook, just mention it below. Be sure to like and subscribe.
Comment.
And hit that notification bell so that you get notice of all of our videos.
Comment.
Yeah, and leave us a
I like
comment.
interaction.
We read all the comments, so please,
So,
good or bad,
yeah,
let us know.
I did it again. I hate that. Hate getting stuff under that. Okay, so it's stretchy, it's pliable, it's the yeast is not like super warm, but the dough is a little warm to the touch. And then I'll do this. I fold it over itself, and I use the heel of my hand. You see how you can see it sponging around? That means that yeast, we've got a good quality, fresh yeast that's really working. And the little bit of sugar that you put in there gives that yeast something to work on. And I like the process of rolling it in on itself. It's constantly making those strands of gluten work through this dough, and it's going to make a good quality product.
I've seen in other shows where they pull a piece and look at it. Do you ever do that?
No, I just go
Like
by
to see
feel.
if...
Yeah, no, I just go by feel. And I know that this one's going to be good. Now I'm going to get out your other dish, your Pioneer Woman bowl, and put a little bit of... Well, I guess we'll use...
A little bit of butter.
Yeah.
We're out of oil.
That was the other thing. That's exactly what it was. She asked me this morning, what did we need? No, I'm going to use the, I think it's the, what is it, the grapeseed oil?
Oh, okay.
And then you cover it, and I usually turn the oven on.
Especially on cold days like today when it's not real warm in here. We'll turn the oven on real low. Look at that pretty ball of dough. Looks nice.
And what I'll do, I'll take and I'm not going to set that in the flour. Set this over here. I'll get the oil. Oh, that's all gone too. Fantastic. Well, butter it is.
Butter it is. Butter works just fine.
Fantastic.
And we always leave our butter that we use like for dinner at the table or whatever. We leave it out. So we always have a stick left out so it's really soft. And that's what he's using to do the bowl.
You know what frustrates me more than anything about that? We were just to the store.
Yeah.
We literally was to the store yesterday.
Spent way too much.
We have in El Reno, you know, like everywhere else, there's a Walmart. I really try not to shop at Walmart any more than I would absolutely have to. But we discovered we have a United supermarket. And we have started doing pretty much everything at this United supermarket, including I'm going to shift my prescriptions there. Need to get these back out.
Do you have any questions about the rolls? Just leave them below.
Clean dish towel.
And we will sure get back to you.
And what I do is I cover the bowl over.
My mom used to always wet hers. Does that matter?
Well, that was to prevent, or not prevent, that was to give a little bit of humidity, but that's what I turn the oven on for.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be a warm, moist environment. That's why I put
Kind of like one of those
oil
proofing
in the bowl,
ovens.
and then I put it over the oven, and that oven will provide enough heat that over the course of the next hour, that dough ball should actually double in size.
So you said plastic wrap, but they don't need the plastic wrap. They can just put a towel over it, a clean tea
Did
towel.
I say plastic wrap? I didn't mean plastic wrap. I've done that in the past. The last batch of this we made, I got the dough all prepared, and we had to go to town, had to go into Oklahoma City, and so for us to Oklahoma City is about a 35-minute
Oh my
drive.
gosh.
So
I went to Trader Joe's the other day and I thought, well, I'll just be gone like an hour. It took an
hour
hour just to get there.
Yeah. So by the time we got back home, my dough was pleasantly plump, and it'll make for a very nice set of dough. Do you see how much more this has rose since I put it back over the stove?
Oh, wow.
And that's supposed to be only just the other cup of this, and I swear it's grown.
Oh my gosh, it smells so good.
Well beyond. So we will link up another part of this video when we're
You want to
finished.
show them the bench cleaner?
Oh yes, yes.
You was going to show that the other day, but we didn't have it out.
It was in the dishwasher. If you don't have one of these, and this is actually a bread knife, or it doubles as two things. For when I go to clean up the counter,
Oh my gosh, it makes so easy.
and especially since we have stone countertops, you can really push and you can get down. You can hear that where the little bit of the moisture that was in the dough kind of stuck to the countertop. And when you get done, you can run your hand around it. It has pretty much cleaned it all off there. But the other thing this is used for is when you're going to, you get your dough out and it tells you to divide it in half. You've proofed it, it's raised, you've waited at least your hour. You get this big bunch of pile out and you're going to divide it in half to punch it down. You literally take this thing and you cut right down through your deal of dough, and then you end up with two separate sections. And it's made out of stainless steel, doesn't rust. It's got a knife edge on the edge of it.
Just throw it in the dishwasher when you're done.
Yeah, we must have bent it somewhere. It's got a wicker on the edge. I need to stone that off. But yeah, I use it for this right here. I literally take and clean my countertop off, and then instead of sitting here with a washcloth and making basically
Paste.
Kindergarten paste, you can clean this all off of here. Now, I could have reused this, but since I've done all this, I'll just throw it away. Okay, so when we get the other section of this all completed, get all the dough punched out, and we're ready to bake, we'll film that part of it. But thanks for watching, and
Remember to like and subscribe and hit your notifications to all.
and tune in again. And as always, we thank you for watching, and we'll see you sometime soon.